Aloha, welcome back to Aina Bear Farm. So I wanted to do a video just kind of showing how we grow our pineapples and moringa together here in a little system. Here we're growing all white pineapples. Very popular here in Hawaii. If you've never had one, they're delicious. They're really sweet. Of course, there's many different varieties, but just in general, white pineapples are much sweeter than yellow pineapples. They don't have as much of the acidity as the yellow pineapple. And I love yellow pineapple, but I can only eat so much of it, and then the acid starts to kind of hurt my mouth. And it doesn't happen with the white pineapple. You can also eat the core on these, which is really nice. It's a little crunchier, but it's delicious. These things are just like candy. We've got about 50 of them growing here in this row, and then we have some in our garden as well. So we're hoping to have enough to eat here and then sell some as well. They can get a pretty decent price because they're very popular here. They take about 2 years to make a fruit from the first time you plant one, but then from there you will have new suckers coming on plants, and you can time it to where you should get a fruit every year from each clump after a little while. You have to do some rejuvenation and some pruning and all that, but you can get perennial fruit essentially from the pineapple. And so it's a pretty good plant. It's pretty easy to take care of. Doesn't really have a ton of nutrient needs. I mean, like anything, it does really good with some compost. Of course, the more you feed it, the better quality fruit you're going to get out of it. But it's also pretty tolerant of not so great soils, rockier soils, pretty tolerant of drought. It's not that tolerant of super wet conditions. It needs really good drainage, which is not a problem here. We have excellent drainage. And we grow it in tandem with the moringa, which, if you don't know this tree at this point, it has gotten very popular recently. It's sometimes referred to as the miracle tree because it's extremely high in protein, extremely high in lots of minerals and vitamins, grows really fast, so it can make a lot of food pretty easily, grows in pretty much any conditions as long as it's warm year-round. This will die in colder weather. But people successfully grow it in different parts of Florida, things like that. And I usually eat the fresh green growth, like you can see on this one here. Eat it raw, put it in smoothies, stuff like that. It's in the mustard family, so it's got that kind of brassica, peppery type of flavor to it, a little bit like arugula maybe. But you can also do it sauteed in soups, all kinds of things like that. The older leaves like this, I would definitely cook them because they get a little tough and harder to eat. And as you can probably see, we just topped this one. So that's part of our maintenance that we're doing right now. We're just coming through and topping these so that they'll send off more of the new growth shoots that we can eat. Moringa is a pretty good companion with pineapple because in the tropics, obviously we have really strong sun. And pineapple is a little bit susceptible to getting damaged, the fruit. If it has too much sun on it, it'll like get kind of a literal sunburn. And then it can cause spots on the pineapple that will rot. And so it's actually good to have a little bit of an overstory. And this provides that really nice kind of thin overstory just to give it a little bit of a break during the day. And this doesn't have like super high nutrient needs, so it's not all that competitive with the pineapple. So far so good as far as this companion planting. We have some pineapples fruiting now. I think counted about 15 flowers that are coming out, and we'll show you a couple of those before we end the video today. It's February now, so we should be eating those in July, maybe into August. So once they start flowering, it takes about 5 months or so before you have the full fruit. So we're definitely looking forward to that. And then, like any plants, crops, you have to keep them weeded. And pineapples are kind of notoriously dangerous to weed around. I have been jabbed by pineapple leaves in ways that have literally caused puncture wounds, and that's pretty painful. And you definitely want to be careful around your eyes and stuff, like if you're in there weeding around. So long story short, you do not want to be like having to weed around these very often, which is why a lot of people use more like long-term weed blocking solutions, like a weed blocking mat. That's something a lot of people use around pineapples. I'm not a big fan of that, although I may come to it at some point just for the convenience of it. Right now I'm using cardboard, and so the cardboard is pretty easy. It lasts about 8 or 9 months here before it totally disintegrates and the weeds start to come back. But it does a good job of smothering weed seeds and all that stuff and locking in moisture eventually. You do want to be careful at first because at first it'll actually repel the rainwater until it starts to get saturated from up underneath. And certain plants really don't like that. Pineapple it seems to work really great for because they don't like wet roots anyways. They're also designed to pull rain on their leaves, siphon it down towards the center of the plant anyways. So they kind of catch all the rain they need and pull it towards that middle point where there's an opening in the cardboard. So seems to do really well with these. You do have to come back and refurbish it every once in a while, which is what we're doing right now. Although if you do a really good job of keeping up with stuff that you pile on top of the cardboard, like if you pile straw like we have in the pathway here, you can probably go really long amounts of time without having to come back with cardboard, because as long as you keep the ground covered, then you're fine. We did not do that, and we let the weeds kind of get out of control, and so I actually had to come through and weed the whole bed and then come back and put a layer of cardboard down. So a little bit of extra work. In the future I'm going to try to stay on top of it a little bit better so I don't have to do that as much. But like I said, once we do it, that's 8 or 9 months that we don't really have to do any weeding in the pineapples at all. So it's kind of nice. Putting it down is pretty easy. I just, get brown cardboard pieces. Doesn't matter if it's got a little bit of writing on there. Make sure you peel off your labels because you don't want that like plastic type of stuff in your soil. And then for these types of plants in particular, I just make like a little collar and just rip this out. And then I'll stick it down there around the base of it. Make sure the leaves are all above. And with pineapple, it actually kind of does a good job of holding the cardboard down. But you have to be careful if you live in a windy spot like we do. A decent wind will come and just pick it up and blow it away. So you may have to weigh it down with some rocks. We're going to come and put some pretty wet straw in there to weigh it down with. That usually works pretty well. And then that'll also help the cardboard to saturate a little bit faster too, to just have that constant contact with the wet straw. So we're almost finished with this row down here. We've run out of cardboard, so I got to go find some more cardboard. And then we'll finish that up. And then the other thing we wanted to do is prune this moringa today. So here I pruned the moringa just above where it was already sending out some new shoots. This one doesn't really have any new shoots coming out. So I'm just going to prune it about the same height as the other one. And as soon as I do this, probably in a couple of weeks or so, we'll notice some new shoots coming out. This older stuff, I'm not, really too excited about eating, but what we'll do is probably give the sticks with some of this growth on it to our rabbits. Moringa makes really good fodder for all kinds of different animals, and the rabbits like to chew on the harder stuff. It just helps with their teeth. And then some of these side branches, we'll prune those as well. You could do this with loppers too. I just find this is kind of easier to use one tool. Actually, I'll probably do this right at the base. And this looks like it could be kind of like a secondary trunk, so kind of leave that there and take this other one out because you don't really need two of those. Like I said, that'll grow back super fast. So we don't have to worry about that. By summer, we'll have the overstory again to protect our pineapples pretty well. So before we go, just come check out some of these pineapple flowers. If you've never seen them before, they're pretty cool looking. Look like little baby pineapples starting to emerge from the center of the plant. And eventually they have all these little individual petals that come around them. Here's another one, it's a little bit bigger. So, can't wait, in a few months we'll have some yummy white pineapples to eat. So, hope you found the video interesting. If you have any questions or comments, just throw them in the comments section. We'll do our best to answer them. And we will see you next time at Ina Bear Farm. Aloha.